9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, ignition.
Chilling out here at Star Factory as we continue to watch Starship Flight 12 arc out over the Gulf. The next major thing coming up is going to be hot staging. Reminder, we do what's our version of MECO. Most engines cut off, so we're going to shut down all but 5 of the Raptor engines on the booster. And then after that happens, we're going to ignite the 6 engines on ship while it is still attached. We have clamps that hold the 2 together. Those are going to retract inside of that hot stage ring, kind of protect them. So we had 1 of the engines go out, still flying on 32 of the Raptor engines. But again, once we get to hot staging, those 6 engines on the ship are going to ignite. We're going to do it in a little bit different of a sequence on version 3. Essentially, those 3 RVAC engines will ignite first. Almost immediately after, just one of those central engines is going to ignite, and that's going to give the booster a bit of a kick, sending it in a known direction, followed shortly after by the other 2. We're through MECO.
Need separation.
There you go, successful hot staging separation. We're not seeing as many booster engines ignite as we expected for boost back, but we are seeing 6 good engines lit on ship. It looks like we just had an early boost back shutdown. Again, a reminder, the booster was planned to essentially head into the Gulf for a splashdown, but it has shut its engines down early on into boost back. And we just see one of the RVAC, so we're now running on 5 engines on ship. We do have engine out capability, so it's going to continue into its ascent. You got booster on the left there, ship on the right.
Ship avionics power and telemetry nominal.
We're not planning on bringing the booster back for this flight, as this was the very first time. All right, so we're about 3 minutes, 50 seconds into today's flight. Just a reminder, the ship planned to burn its engines for about 8 minutes and change. About 8 minutes and 11 seconds was our planned timeline for today. That could shift slightly as we do have 1 engine out, running on 1 fewer RVACs. Again, continuing to watch. So booster did not complete its boost back burn. We did not see all of the engines ignite that we expected. Are continuing to get some views from it, though. That's going to make a splashdown somewhere in the Gulf. Reminder, we clear air, sea space, everything for these launches. right, so we are coming up on T plus 5 minutes. Ship continuing to fire 5 of the 6. Standing by for callouts, making sure ship's on its planned trajectory. Again, we are planning a suborbital trajectory for the ship today. Booster giving us some views as it continues to make its way back down towards the water. All right, so a little over 5.5 minutes in flight. Kate, Jake, you guys with me? Looks like booster's starting to come in hot.
Yeah, we had the opportunity to stand outside to watch launch, and wow, that was incredible.
Yeah, that was really loud, really shaky, and I was actually surprised how fast the booster got off the pad, or the whole stack. That was quite incredible.
Absolutely. So we have views here from the booster coming back down, making its way into the Gulf. Pretty cool to see.
We have healthy chamber pressures on 5 out of 6 ship Raptor engines.
Great news there for Starship. Once again, we were not going to bring the super heavy booster back to the tower. We were planning on having it land in the Gulf.
And it looks like the booster ended its mission there in the Gulf, but we've got a ship still flying. Great to see that. Still have 5 out of 6 engines there on S39.
Yes, we also heard good chamber pressures as well on those engines that are lit. We do have engine out capability. We do see that we have one of the RVAC, one of the Raptor vacuum engines that is currently out, but that's okay. Ship is continuing on. Amazing views of planet Earth there in the background.
Yeah, I love the S39 decal there. That just gives the ship a little bit of character. And again, all these great views brought to you by Starlink, of course.
Yeah, obligatory shout out to the entire Starship avionics, camera, electronics team. Did a whole lot of work to get these upgraded cameras. A look inside of the ship skirt, you can see those 3 center engines ignited. The RVAC's continuing to fire as well. We did see at least a couple engines fire up on booster for that landing burn before we lost contact with it. We should have just a little over 20 seconds to go. We'll see if the burn extends a little bit for the engine out. Essentially, you can run your engines a little bit longer or throttle up a little bit more to account for the one engine not being lit. So right now we are standing by for SECO. And again, we are continuing to go a little bit longer. Five engines still burning on ship.
And we need information on how the ship's systems perform. Reentry is an extremely demanding portion of flight where we essentially have to scrub all of the energy we use to launch the rocket back off in reverse. So the 18 million pounds of thrust that we had off 33 of those Raptor engines.
Just a little.
Just a little. We're now, and then another, several minute burn on the ship. We're now basically undoing all that energy here via aerodynamic braking, essentially. And of course, Starlink is a big part of it, as that's what allows us to actually gather this data and show these live views. And again, the data gathering is really the main reason why we're doing these flight tests. So Starlink provides us just one more path to collect that data that ultimately allows us to rapidly iterate Starship's design.
Now, if ship manages to make it all the way through re-entry, we'll collect valuable data on the spacecraft flying through the Earth's atmosphere at these hypersonic speeds, which is basically more than 5 times the speed of sound. Now, we do anticipate that it might be a little bit of a spicy re-entry, so we'll see how far we get. Re-entry is typically a portion of flight where we don't have communications with the spacecraft because it's re-entering at or around orbital velocity, roughly 8 kilometers per second, or for those of us that think in other units, roughly 5 miles per second. At those speeds, the spacecraft is moving through the atmosphere, and it creates that plasma field that we saw forming around the vehicle.
Yeah, and although the plasma looks really cool, it does distort some communication frequencies. So it's not uncommon to experience brief blackouts in communication. Of course, thinking long-term here, Starship is designed to land on Mars where there are no runways or other humans to help out. That's why we're going with the propulsive landing instead of a more traditional means like parachutes. Propulsive landing, not only, again, is it more cool, but it enables a more rapidly reusable rocket.
Yeah. Now, we should hear some call-outs as the ship makes its way back to Earth. When we hear entry max heating and entry max Q, that means the ship has made it through the maximum heating and aerodynamic loads that it will experience as it returns. So if we make it through those, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah. And you can see in the bottom left right now, we're at 23,500 kilometers per hour speed. That's just a crazy number to think about. But as we keep progressing in the mission, we are going to hear a call out when the ship is transonic and then subsonic. So transonic refers to the period of flight where the velocities of airflow surrounding and flowing past the vehicle are concurrently below, at, and above the speed of sound, kind of in that Mach 0.8 to 1.2 range. And for reference, commercial jets have a range of cruising speeds, but mostly fly around Mach 0.74 to Mach 0.85. And after we hear the call out that Starship is transonic, we should hear the call out when Starship is subsonic. This refers to speeds that are much less than the speed of sound, so at this point in the flight, ship's velocity will be slowing down.
We definitely have a crowd still here in the lobby of SpaceX headquarters down here at Starbase, Texas. Everyone is, loves watching ship re-entry. It's always such amazing colors. This must be what it feels like to be one of those praying mantis shrimp. I can't remember exactly what the name is, but the ones that see in billions of colors. This is the closest I feel to being one of those.
Yep. I think one other thing that's cool to point out right now is look in the bottom right, you can see where we are on a globe there. We're squarely in the Indian Ocean already, and we've only been flying for 53 minutes. Yeah. So pretty crazy. We went all the way from Texas to the Indian Ocean in less than an hour.
Yeah. She flies pretty fast.
She flies very fast.
All right, so the light show continuing. We are through the period of peak heating, and we'll be looking at the peak pressure coming up in the next couple of minutes. The next 10 minutes are probably going to be the spiciest of entry today. As a reminder, we are going to be doing some stress work on this ship, where we're going to do a maneuver where we kind of kick the nose up to fully deploy those aft flaps to really get a good test of the structural strength of that part of the ship. We did that on one previous flight test on version 2. We're going to try and do that today. Since we did skip the in-space burn, we're carrying a little bit of extra propellant in our header tanks up in the nose, and so that's going to put a little bit of extra stress on those forward flaps as we come in. So we will see if they're able to hold through that re-entry. So that will be another watch item. We did skip that in-space burn, but we are expecting at least 2 of those sea level engines to try and ignite for a landing burn. We entered the entry period in a good attitude, so hopefully making our way to the targeted splashdown point. We've got that Starship recovery team standing by, and we should be about 10 minutes away from splashdown. So a lot of excitement over the next couple of minutes. Kate and Jake, let's see how Starship holds up on the way in.
Yeah, and we just heard on the nets there that engine chill has started. So essentially what that means is we are prepping the landing engines by getting them down to temperature ahead of that landing burn later in the mission here.
And on a lot of our previous flight tests, we've been removing a bunch of the tiles. If you've watched those, we were really intentionally trying to push ship beyond its limits. On the last flight, we even had basically a hole get punched into the liquid oxygen.
And is on target.
The crowd here reacting to that call out, letting us know that we are on target for this precise landing in the Indian Ocean. This will once again be a soft splashdown. We should get some pretty cool views from the recovery team who we chatted with earlier. They are standing by to receive this ship. Once again, this is the first flight of our completely redesigned Starship version 3.
Yeah, and if you remember the suborbital flights from a few years ago, this is very much the
change the path of the air over you coming up real soon. Again, going for a landing burn, trying to light 2 of these Raptor sea level engines.
Landing burn startup.
Landing burn startup. 2 engines lit. Buoy cam
Starship is
catching
landed.
it.
Good showtime.